on your deathbed and you had two choices on your deathbed. Choice number one, you have more money than you ever dreamed possible, but looking back at life, you worked all the time, right? You just worked. Played the game, no off season. Option number two, you have less money than option number one, but you have all these memories of your family, your children, your spouses, your friends, seeing things, experiencing things, all those memories. Which one would you want to take your last breath with?
Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode.
Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. If you've been watching me on YouTube for many years, you realize that I'm not in my office today. And if you're on audio, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm in the middle of Liverpool, England, wrapping up my spring sabbatical. So there's a dock. There's a lot of noise. We'll do the best we can to filter it out. But if you hear some stuff in the background, I'm just going to apologize in advance for all that. So a couple things I want to talk about in this episode. It's going to be like two or three maybe mini topics. So the first topic I want to cover today is whenever I get away and do, week, 2 weeks, I tend to, so my world after 30 years, I decided first off at 25 years as a coach, which was now 6 years ago, I decided I was never really going to retire. And I had a test of that this past summer where my wife and I, Marissa, were going to go away for my summer sabbatical, and one of our animals got sick. Thankfully, he's made a recovery, but we had to ditch the trip. And while my lovely wife, Marissa, was tending to our dog, Joe was stuck at home for 2.5 weeks with really not a lot going on because he was not planning to be there. And it made me realize very quickly that I would suck at the retirement game, just not good at it, right? So what I do when I teach my clients to do too, by the way, if you're a younger advisor and you're like, oh man, I'm just starting, I can't really do this. Hear me out on this, okay? This is really important. If you're an advisor and you're getting to the point in your career where you're not sure if you want to retire, so in other words, you're putting what I call an all or nothing, black and white decision in front of you, which I think for most of you is a terrible idea. I really do. Now, I've had the privilege of coaching, like I said, advisors for 31 years. I've taken advisors now, literally from starting their career to their retirement. Like I've done in several, about 5 cases. I've done an entire career cycle. So I see what this looks like, okay, from a lot of different perspectives. So for those of you who do retirement planning, right, what do you talk to your clients about? Hey, if you're going to retire, what are you going to do? Like, what's your goals? What are your mission? What's your lifestyle? What's your bucket list? All those things, right? Well, I want you to ask yourself that question. Do you have something that's so compelling that it would occupy not just your time, but it would be fulfilling for you. Because here's really the question. If you're going to do something and not feel fulfilled, you're eventually going to not like it, and you won't stay committed to it. All right. So, while for some of you, hey, you can always play golf, you can always go fishing, you can always travel. But are those things really going to fulfill you? Right? And if the answer is no, then you're left with a second question, which is, okay, what will? And if the answer to that question is, what fulfills me is helping people, taking care of my clients, helping people navigate uncertain financial waters. If that's your jam, like my jam is helping advisors, okay? If that's your jam, then what I recommend to you, assuming your health is good, your physical and mental health is good, then why don't you just take retirement off the table, or at least push it out for 5 or 10 years, right? I'll be 61 this year, and my 10-year plan, which I crafted at 60, by the way, is that I'm going to run in my model that I've created for the next 10 years, which is basically 3 week sabbaticals a year. Next year, one of them will turn into a 4-week sabbatical. So I have 2 3s and 1 4, okay? So that's 10 weeks. In addition to that, I take another 4 to 6 weeks of quasi-strategic renewal time, depending what time of year, what I want to do. So basically, I'm always working no more than 4 months before I get what Tim Ferriss would call, the author of the 4-Hour Work Week, a mini retirement, okay, mini retirement. And I just think for a lot of advisors, that's a great way to go about it. Now, some of you are going to sit there and say, well, Joe, I can't get away, man. How my clients need me. Hey, I've been in the middle of the North Atlantic on this trip answering emails. So for me, when I go sabbatical, and there's different thoughts. So there's not a right or wrong on this. It's kind of what works for you, okay? I'm the kind of person that if I don't know what's going on with my clients, if I don't know what's going on in my business, I won't relax. Hence, it kind of defeats the purpose of a sabbatical, right? So what I do every morning is I get up, I do my morning ritual. In my world, it's called Magellan Power Hour. We do our morning ritual. And then for like the next hour, I'm going to be running my business. I'll be leading it, answering emails, taking care of my clients, delegating things, email keeps happening, lights stay on, right? So I am giving up 1 hour for myself every morning for my power hour, okay? And 1 hour to run my business. So it's 2 hours out of 24. I do that, depend on, we did like 6 time zones here. I'm going to do that very first thing in the morning, and I have the rest of the day to myself. You know what I have the rest of the day to myself? Nothing to worry about, because I handle everything, and I'll handle everything else tomorrow morning, right? So for me, that rule works really, really well. Now, if you're a younger advisor, and you're like, I can't take the time away, and I can't economically afford it, or you have young kids, got plenty of clients like that too. Hey, start grabbing some long weekends. Take a week with the family in the summer. We created a calendar. We work on 3 periods. Period 1, which is New Year's Day to Memorial Day in the United States. You take the end of May, that's fine. Period 2, Memorial Day to Labor Day. And period 3, Labor Day to end of year. So, if you have small kids, but we know period 1, period 3 probably not going to happen unless, holidays. So period 2, that's where I want you to grab, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of vacation time, right? Maybe you put 2 of those weeks together and take a 2-week one. Think of it like a mid-year break, halftime, right? I taught the halftime principle for many years, especially for younger advisors. The 4th of July weekend is a thrown out weekend. Just nobody cares, right? And then if you take a week prior or post, you get 2 weeks in the middle of the year. That's not that. And then maybe grab a week in August before the kids go back to school, right? Really good. So either way, you get a break. Here's what a lot of you do, and it drives me absolutely crazy. And you think it's helping you, but it's really hurting you. And here's what that is. Oh, I can't afford to go away. I don't have economics, and I'm just going to keep working harder and stuff like that. And that is the biggest lie you tell yourself. So you know why that's a lie? Because you're not going to work any harder. And what you're really saying, this is what the truth is. This is your truth. And I challenge you to go in the mirror and ask yourself the question, why am I not going away on vacation? Answer, because I don't think I deserve it. Why don't you think you deserve it? Because I did not apply myself 100% and play the game at the highest level. So in essence, I don't deserve it, so I'm going to punish myself. And somehow, in that narrative, you're going to actually feel better about your job, about your jam, about what you're doing, and you're going to actually apply yourself even harder. No. All you're going to do is get more and more ground down and end up doing absolutely nothing, and it's just a vicious cycle. Here's what I find out. Hey, man, tell me the last vacation you went on. If it takes them more than 15 seconds to answer that question, or even 10 seconds, then I know for a fact they're way overdue, right? So how do we do this? So what is the tool that we use? So I created a strategic calendaring system called Magellan Street. Everything we do here is called Magellan, by the way. The Magellan Strategic Planning System. And so what we do, and I have to give a friend and a former client, Floyd Shalansky, a big shout out on this, because he was the one that really kind of introduced me to the concept, which I refined. I'm always going to give credit where credit's due. And, he was the guy that, he would say, hey, Joe, when's your next planning conference? And I'd say, well, how about the 1 year after that? And the year, like, he goes, man, my calendar's out 2 years. And Floyd's a great human being. He travels the world with his wife, Rosa, and he tends to his business and his clients. And just, if there's ever like a role model to really, really take a look at in terms of how to integrate life and business together, it'd be that man. Just a wonderful, wonderful human being. And so, what he taught me was think further out, right? So in my world today, my strategic calendar is almost 3 years out now. Now, can we make changes? Of course, right? But you know what the first thing I put in is my sabbaticals. So if I'm going to do a new year, right, what am I going to install first? I'm going to install my time, right? I forget there's actually a phrase for this where work expands into time allocated, right? So if you kind of figure out how many days you want to work or play the game, you're going to stretch it way farther and be less productive. So the first thing I do is say, okay, what is my goal for the year? Well, I'm going to have 3 or 4 weeks sabbaticals. They get installed first. And I normally install them in spring. Like, so right now we're early May here. You wouldn't know it here in London, but in Liverpool. I install, end of April, beginning of May, that's one install. End of July, beginning of August is the second install. And the third install, shockingly, is end of the year, beginning of the year. Okay? So those are my 3 installs, my 3 sabbaticals. Then I'll sprinkle in my weeks here and there, right? And make sure I don't go more than 8 weeks without a week of pure renewal time. And sprinkle that in, and you add up, it'll be 12 to 14 weeks of pure. So think about it. If it's 12 weeks or 13 weeks, probably more close to 13, that's 25% of the year off. That's pretty damn good, right? And I'm not saying like I'm not home. Like I'm traveling the world. I'm hitting my bucket list stuff. Marissa and I have made a real commitment while we're still fairly young at 60. I'm 60. I'm really going to go do the things that I want to go do while I'm physically able to, right? From that perspective. So if you're a younger advisor with kids, then you just got to kind of back it down and understand that. But here's the thing. Do not sit there and say to yourself, I don't deserve. Part of this game is downtime. Just like athletes have an off season. Even in sports that don't really have an off season, like golf and tennis. I mean, there's several sports that you can you want to play every week. If you want to compete every week, you can. Even those athletes don't play in every tournament. They just don't, right? They take their windows, right? Even a Formula One, which I'm a big fan of, they have their summer break, and then they have their between season break. So, I think July, August, and then I think it's early December till early February is the second break. And they don't even in the season, they don't race every week in the season. Why? Because everybody needs a break. You got to get away from the game, right? If you're sitting in your office when you're watching or listening to this or in the car, and you're like, you can't remember the last time you were really away, then that tells me you're way overdue. And consider it this way. It's not about you celebrating something. You just need to recharge the batteries. A long weekend doesn't recharge batteries, by the way. It's like your phone. If your phone's at like 10% and you kind of throw it into the wall charger for 5 minutes, you may get to 15 to 20%. It doesn't mean we're ready to go. It just means it's not going to die right now. Same thing in our world, right? You're not going to die right now with the business.
Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode.
So I'm just saying to you, you want to really, really be, give yourself permission, and you don't have to do what I do. Look, I have a budget every year, and I have a 6-figure personal development budget, and I have a 6-figure bucket list travel budget. And those are 2 line items that every year when I do my budget, they get installed. Okay, take care of me, take care of myself, right? So my personal development, my mind, my body, everything, and then I make sure that I enjoy life. And this is just and I'm not trying to give you my or have you adopt my philosophy, but I'll say this. I forget where I read this or heard this, so I can't give attribute properly, but it was a question like this: on your deathbed, and you had two choices on your deathbed. Choice number one: you have more money than you ever dreamed possible, right? But looking back at life, you worked all the time, right? You just worked, played the game, no off season. Option number two: you have less money than option number one, but you have all these memories of your family, your children, your spouses, your friends, seeing things, experiencing things, all those memories. Which one would you want to take your last breath with? All right. And I think that's really, really important. And the reason why I say that is very recently, I lost a client. I won't get into names. Mid-60s, health was improving, and he came to me about 5-6 years ago, referred by another client. And he said, I'm getting ready to retire. I don't know why I'm really here. Like, I don't know, I don't think I want to do this coaching thing. I said, look, why don't you just come? And timing was very, very fortuitous. It was just right before I was planning to do my annual business planning event down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I said, look, man, if you can, why don't you just come to Fort Lauderdale, spend 3 days with me. Let's map out. And if you can't map anything out, then you can sell your business and go off and do what you want to do, right? Which he had a passion for outdoor sports and hiking. And he rode a Harley and played guitar. Really, really well-rounded human being. And I remember, I think it was on day 2, because day 2 is when we did the 10-year. And he came to me like towards the end of day 2, and he hugged me. I said, okay. And he goes, I just want to thank you. I said, okay. He goes, I can do this for the next 10, 20 years. Like, I figured out I can still love my clients, serve them at the highest level, grow my business while taking all this time away. And he said, I can have my cake and eat it too. And he goes, I really thought that I had to get out of this to go pursue that. And I said, no, man. Being an advisor is one of those very rare worlds where you can go ahead and have it all. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can have economic abundance and time freedom, which, if you think for all of us, I say, look, what are the two things you really want in life, right? You want resources, right? Economic abundance, right? Because money is a resource, let's face it, rather have it than not have it. And then time freedom to go pursue your passions, right? You'll travel, be with your loved one, whatever it is, read a book, go to cooking school, whatever, right? So if you think about it, the two targets we're after in this game is time freedom and economic abundance. Those are the two things we're after. And it's just fascinating how very few advisors plan for that. If you're in an organization and you have leadership come to you and say, hey, what are your goals for next year? What do they care about? They care about the numbers. And you know what? From their perspective, I get it. I understand that. I've consulted with many organizations in my career about advisor development. And, I'm going to say it the way I say it. Do they care about your well-being or your sabbaticals or making sure you're feeling good about yourself? No. They care about the numbers. It is what it is. They're capitalists to the nth degree. It's cool. It's their game. But what I'm saying here is many of you have just scratched the surface of what is possible. What is possible. And I'm encouraging you, and I'm going to give you an offer in a second to make this a reality, so just hold on to that, to figure out what your game is. And I don't care if you're 1 year in the business, 10 years in the business, 25 years in the business, 30, it is relevant. Because we've taken advisors who are 22, and I've got one personal client, Terry, she's 7. I can't, never say how old a woman's age. Let's just say she's been around, very experienced, lovely human being. She's still growing her business. And you know what? She just goes off a cruise. She goes on jazz cruises. She travels. She has friends. She does all these things. Again, well-rounded, living life, having their cake and eating it too. Time freedom and economic abundance. I would encourage you just to even go outside tomorrow morning, or depending on when you're watching this, just go walk yourself and say, what would time freedom and economic abundance mean to me? Like, what would that look like, right? Like, what's your current thinking? Because I'm telling you right now, your current thinking will be your current thinking, and then it'll evolve over time when you start seeing what's possible. But here we are, it's early May here, right? I would encourage you to go take this for a spin. Have a taste. And here's what I mean. This summer, even if you have little kids, take 2 weeks. For some of you who've never taken 2 weeks, take 2 weeks. If you've taken 2 weeks, take a third week, right? So whatever you've done as your typical vacay, add. So 1 week goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, okay? And if 0, then go to 1, okay? If you can't economically go somewhere, then have a staycation. That's fine too. Get away from the business. On this trip, my wife and I, we've left New York City. We spent 6 days cruising the North Atlantic. Interesting. I went to Iceland, gone to Ireland. We're here now in England for a couple days. We're going to London too. We're going to go to France. I'm going to go do Normandy, the beaches, which is one of my bucket list trips, right? And then I'm going to go back to the United States. I'm going to rock it out now for another 12 weeks. And then at the end of July, I'm going to fly to Europe again. I'm going to do a cruise around the Western Mediterranean, seeing more countries. That's not by accident. That's by design. So here are the tools that you need. Number one, you need to give yourself permission that you deserve this. And even if you don't think you deserve this, you need this because you need to keep the saw sharp. You need to keep the point of the spear the point. Okay? So this is not about necessarily celebratory stuff. You need to get yourself away to charge the batteries. Number two, you need a vision. So we do planning. We kind of mirror EOS a little bit in terms of how they do planning. So we'll do a 10-year, 3-year, 1 year. Inside of that, you're going to come up with your bucket list stuff, right? Where you want to travel, what you want to do, how you want to see life, how you want to experience things, what's time, freedom, and economic abundance mean to you. The third tool is our strategic calendar. So this is not your Wealth Box calendar or your Redtail calendar or Outlook or Smart Station or any of that. I use Google. You can use anything you like. I got clients that show me the wall calendar on Zoom every year, right? Here's my calendar for the year. But come up with a strategic calendar that is broken down into 3 types of time or 3 types of days. There's subtypes. I'm not going to get into that today. First thing, what did I say earlier? I install my renewals. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to look at the calendar of the year and you're going to install your vacation weeks. I'm going to give you some hacks on this. There are certain holidays in the United States that fall on Monday, Labor Day, Memorial Day, right? Things like that. 4th of July week. Those are automatics. They should just be automatic offs, right? For sure. There are 2 windows I think are also non-negotiables. Mid-year and end of year. So mid-year, somewhere end of June, first week of July, that's a nice 2-week window to take right there. End of year, the week between the holidays is great. And for a lot of you, I recommend take the first week of January, which I know sounds counterintuitive because like, Joe, it's January, we should get out. I said, no. A lot of you are burnt out from the holidays. You wrapped up the year, RMDs, you have to do your own planning. Then the holidays come, and you have to deal with family members you don't like, but you're related to by blood, which is stressful, right? And then next thing you know, oh man, the ball drops, and like, here's a new season. Here we are. And you're like, oh man, I'm not ready for it. So I tend to start my New Year's usually the second week of January. So I take the whole first week. So I'm even gone. Like I just need to recharge. So do that. Okay. Start with that. So there are 3 tools, right? Number 1, permission. Number 2, the plan. Number 3, the strategic calendar. So you install your away time, right? Your renewal time, sabbatical time. Then you have 2 different other types of time: strategic time and tactical time. And I'm not going to break that up in this video. Strategic time is working on the business. Tactical time is working in the business. So in and on. Bottom line is this. So I'm going to wrap it up. I don't care where you are in this game, whether you're year 1 or year 61. It's irrelevant. Get some downtime. This is not a physically demanding gig. It's not, okay? Most of you sit or stand in air-conditioned or climate-controlled offices. You're not out there being like a longshoreman or anything like that, right? But here's what this really is. It's very mentally and emotionally taxing. It just is. If you deal with human beings at the highest level like I do, it burns you out. Now, I'll admit that. One of the reasons why I installed what I installed in my life was I want to do this forever. And the way I was doing it a decade or 15 years ago, it was not sustainable. It just wasn't. So I had to create these little gaps in my calendar so that I can go ahead and charter my value and be the best version of myself, to be the best coach I can possibly be, to add maximum value to every human being I encounter. That means you got to be at full strength. You can't be just surviving. And here's the last thing I'll say, then we'll get out of here. There's a tell. Here's the tell. If you're waking up in the morning trying to get through the day versus waking up in the morning and driving the day. So if you're trying to get through things versus driving things, you're burnt out. Period. That will not fix itself. That will not cure itself by some miraculous intervention. You got to go and make that happen. Okay? So I said I have an offer for you, so let me do it. 30 days, we have access to 3 things. Okay? Our calendaring system, so you can build your strategic calendar, masterclass. Our 10-year strategic planning system, called our vision plan, right? And then all the tools to implement these. They're my gift to you for 30 days. All you have to do is go to MagellanNetwork.net. It's a very quick application. Michael, who's the director of Magellan Network, will actually schedule an interview. So here's the thing. You're filling out a form, you got to talk to us first. When we do this offer, we don't let just any advisor in. We want to make sure you're serious about actually getting the work done. So if you're just curious about this and you're not going to take the interview, because it's a 30-minute interview. If you're not willing to do that, then probably don't fill out the application. We're not going to let you in without the conversation. Okay? But if you're serious about this, fill out the application. Let's have the conversation. 30 days. My gift to you. My gift to you. Full access, so we don't hold anything back. I want to thank you again for listening and watching this episode, and all the episodes, quite frankly. And if this message resonated with you, here's a big ask. Go leave a review on wherever it is that you are, Spotify or YouTube or iTunes or wherever it is you're watching or listening to this. And forward this episode to a friend in the game and encourage them to subscribe. Until next week, it's Coach Joe Lukacs, live from Liverpool.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.